Hi, I'm Sarah Gelsenleiter, and I am going to show you a few techniques for working with clay so you can make whatever you want out of your clay. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is a pinch pot. So pinching is one technique you can use to make something out of clay. If you take a little bit of your clay and roll it in a ball, and then push your thumb into the center and squeeze and turn your ball, and just keep squeezing, then little by little the walls of your bowl will thin out and you are making a pinch pot. And you can keep pinching until you get to the thickness you would like. Alright. Now you might want to add something to your pinch pot. So I could take a little bit more of my clay, and maybe I want to add a little turtle or some other kind of animal. You can squeeze your clay, shape up a little head out of it, maybe make some little legs. And once you're happy with however your animal would like, however you want your animal or whatever you're adding to your pinch pot, when you go to join those two things, you always have to scratch the clay and use a little bit of water in between. So I've got water in my bowl here. This isn't really a finished turtle, but just to show you the technique, if I wanted this to be up on the side of my bowl, say like this, or maybe it's looking down in. All right, I'm going to scratch the turtle or whatever you're adding and scratch the place where it's going to join using my fork. Put a little bit of water on both sides and press it together. That's called slip and score. That's really important when you're joining two pieces of clay. You always have to slip and score. So I'm going to set that aside. Whenever you join two pieces, you want to let it dry slowly. I'm going to set it over here, and then show you a couple other ways you can work with clay. You might want to take some of your clay and roll it into a slab to texture or to make a tile or a wall hanging. So I'm going to flatten out my clay a little bit by hand first, and then I'm going to use my rolling pin to roll it as flat as I would like. Okay, so once I've rolled it, a good thickness for a tile or wall hanging is about 1/4 inch. I could use leaves or flowers or all kinds of things to texture my slab for decoration. If I want to use leaves or anything that's flat, like lace, I would lay those down and then carefully roll them into the clay. All right, now when I lift out the leaves or the lace, it will leave a texture in the clay. Clay's great at capturing all kinds of texture and impressions. I can also press things into the clay or roll them. I could press this lizard in to give the texture of the feet. Or I could roll a necklace in too. Lift that out to leave lots of texture. Okay, so now I've textured my slab, and the glaze will look different on all those different places. It'll be darker where it's a deeper impression and lighter on the flatter parts. So if I could leave it just like this and put a hole in it to hang, but I think I will change the shape a little bit. I'm going to trim the edge slightly. I cut that one a little bit round. I'm going to cut it straight across the bottom using my knife. And to finish those edges, I would use a ruler on the straight edges and just kind of roll it to smooth it. Or I could get my finger wet and just go along the edge there to smooth that. And to put a hole in it whenever you're ready to hang, just use your pencil to put a hole in there. All right, so that was making a wall hanging or a tile. But you can also build with slabs to make something vertical, like a vase or a mug or an artistic sculpture. So this time I rolled some slabs a little bit ago, maybe a half an hour ago, and I textured this one. I left one flat and untextured. You want to roll them, maybe a half hour in advance and texture them so that they get a little bit more stiff. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is build up and make a cup out of this. So to join my long slab together into a cylinder, I want to thin out both ends. So I press down on one end to make it thinner. I'm going to press down on the other end to make it thinner. And then you can see when they come around, and I gently shape it, I'll be able to press those two thinned out edges together. But first, I've got to score both sides with my fork. Just score it up and then put a little water on. Again, this is for the score and slip technique. So then I can press those two thinner edges together. And I want to really press them. It's up to you if you want to leave the line so it shows that it was joined there, or you can blend it all the way in, kind of erase that line. So that's up to you, but either way you really need to press it together where you scored it. Okay, then I'm going to set it, I'm making a cup, I'm going to set it on another slab, use my pencil to trace around it, and then score those two parts that I'm going to join. And you can see on my textured slab, like the grass and the flower that I rolled into it, they're still stuck in the clay, and that's fine. So you just want to leave that there, and it will burn away in the kiln. And again, I'm going to put a little water on here and really press this down. And once I've really pressed it down onto my scored area, then I can come with a knife and cut it out. And then I'll smooth all of that together. So that's building with slabs. And if there's any place in your project where it starts to crack a little bit, I rolled a flower into my slab, and so it made the slab a little thin in one area. So I'm going to take a little bit of clay, I'm rolling it in my hand to make a thin coil, and I will just press it in on the back side to fill that in. So you can always backfill with a little bit of clay. And then I could come along the edges and smooth this together. And you can build, quite tall things out of slabs as long as you let them stiffen up a little bit first so they aren't too floppy when you try to build. And then on the edge of my cup up here, this edge would be a little bit hard, sharp if you were going to drink out of your cup. So I just take my wet fingers and come along and smooth that edge, round it out, so it'll be nice to drink from. Now, I've showed you how to make a pinch pot. So pinching is one technique. How to work with slabs, to roll something flat or to build with slabs. And another technique that's great for clay is rolling a coil and coil building. So say you wanted to put a handle on your cup, or you wanted to make something, build something out of coils, you would take a little bit of clay, roll it out on your working board, and then you could kind of, this is too big, but I could kind of get a sense of whether or not, is that handle too thick? Do I want to make a thinner coil? I could thin it a little bit more, and then I'll start to cut it. And see what I think. That's still a little bit too big for my taste, so I'll cut it a little shorter. and then I'll decide where I want to join it. Still a little bit long. I'm going to cut it one more time. And then once I've decided where to join it, and a lot of times you can join it right where your seam was. And I'm going to score the ends of the handle and score the cup where the two pieces of clay will be joined, and use a little bit of water between them. And then again, really press the clay on. And I just made a plain coil, but I could have textured the coil. I could have made it all kinds of different shapes. So there's really no limit to what you can make with clay. You just, once you know the basic techniques of pinching and rolling slabs and rolling coils, and then always slipping and scoring when you join things. And once you join something, two pieces of clay, you want to let it dry slowly. So what I would do is maybe drape a plastic bag over this and let it just sit once you're completely done, and let it dry slowly so they can all meld together with no cracking. All right, good luck. I hope you have a lot of fun working with your clay, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you make. Thank you.